Welcome to Mint. I am Jacob Koshy. The whole world is now talking about the rapid moves towards democracy in Myanmar. So what does all of this mean for India politically and economically? For more clarity on this, we are joined by Biswajit Dhar, DG of leading think tank RIS. Hello sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
On the phone, we are joined by political analyst B.G. Verghese of the Center for Policy Research. Welcome to you too, sir.
Thank you.
First question is for you, Mr. Dhar. How happy should India be about these recent moves in Myanmar towards democracy?
I think it's very significant for us because from an economic standpoint, and that's where we are looking at developments in Myanmar, because of this military junta, the country was subjected to a number of sanctions, and as you know that India was engaged in exploration of gas and oil, and then we had to back off because of the Western sanctions. We couldn't actually carry our project to its logical conclusion, and in a number of other projects that we were engaged in some way or the other, the progress was not very much because there was always this political uncertainty, and we were only responding to the demands of our major partners, for instance, the United States. So in terms of our political and economic engagement in Myanmar, it was a stop-go kind of a thing. And after the recent changes, I won't say very recent, it has been quite a few months, I think there is considerable hope that now things are going to move on, and one of the big gains that we are looking at through the changes that have taken place politically in Myanmar is that our Look East policy, which was rather dormant, I would say, it hasn't gone very far, is really likely to take off, through all these connectivity projects we can come back to later.
Sure. Mr. Verghese, if you could come in on this now. My question is slightly hypothetical in the sense, given this overtures towards democracy, let's say if Aung San Suu Kyi were to become far more powerful in Myanmar's political setup, how do you think she can manage Myanmar's fractious internal insurgency issues with the principles of democracy that she advocates?
Well, this is one of the challenges that Myanmar faces, any regime would face there, because it has a great deal of diversity and ethnic plurality, and that's a problem that needs to be sorted out. And this was something that the new independent Burma engaged in right at the start at the Panglong conference, but that didn't move forward. Then it was overwhelmed by civil war and Aung San's assassination and everything else, and all that is now history. But this is an unresolved problem, and from an uneasy ceasefire, they have to move towards a settlement by negotiating terms with all the various ethnic groups. Now, this is not peculiar to Myanmar. We have similar sets of problems, not exactly necessarily on all fours, on our side of the border in the northeast.
Yeah.
So democracy provides a much better framework than an arbitrary authoritarian rule where it depends on the whims and fancies of a junta or an individual, whereas democracy is much more plural and accommodative of people's desires, and is also something that the tribal people themselves, the ethnic minorities, would welcome.
Yeah.
So the issue is what kind of federation is Burma to be?
So just to follow up on...
unitary or federal. I think one of their main demands is that in a federal system that they want, they'd like the upper house, which should be a chamber of the states, that is equal representation for all the minorities, minority units, to provide a balance to a single majoritarian view.
Correct. So, sir, a kind of follow-up to this question is, there's always been a lot of talk about, the rich natural wealth of this country, and now several countries are looking to cash in on this. So, now should India wait for a democratic setup to fully emerge before it, rushes in with greater steam, or should it just engage with this country more closely either ways, even with the existing government that's on?
We've always engaged with Myanmar. The Caledon Corridor project,
correct,
the More-Tamu Kalewa link, which was completed, the More-Tamu link. These were done before. The Chinwin Cascade was in negotiation and commencement before this change took place. So we are there. We had made a bid and taken some steps towards the exploration of oil and gas, and we did strike gas, but we couldn't evacuate it because of difficulties we had in negotiating a settlement with Bangladesh, and therefore that gas has now been allocated to China.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Dhar, my final question is for you. I mean, it's the talk about China. What does a democratic Myanmar mean for China, and how closely should India now watch China? Given a democratic possibility in this country.
No, I think the role that China was playing in Myanmar is certainly going to be lesser now, since many countries from the democratic world have shown increasing interest in investing in Myanmar, engaging more actively with Myanmar. And you would also know that some months back there was a problem that occurred in a hydel project between Myanmar and China.
Correct.
And I would think that these are signs of changing times, that the extent to which China was involved is going to be looked at by the changing regime more critically. They would like to have a greater say, countries like India, and there I think that India has a lot to benefit from, and of course provide assistance to Myanmar.
So how will all of this help in the economic integration of India with this?
Oh, it can have a tremendous impact. As I said earlier, that this is really going to put our Look East policy on a more firm kind of track. As you know that we have these highway projects, linking up the trilateral highway, Myanmar, Thailand, India. Then we have the larger, the Asian highway project going right up to Indonesia and beyond. There is another project to take it right up to Japan, and all these projects, I think, you'll start looking up. And once you have the infrastructure going, then I think this can mean a lot for India. And what I'm particularly interested in is the Northeast, because a greater engagement with Myanmar could actually do wonders to the Northeast, because a lot of these industries can go back and forth with Myanmar. We could have downstream and upstream industries coming up in the Northeast to take advantage of the rich mineral and the raw material wealth that Myanmar has.
So clearly there's a lot of potential that we have on hand as far as India and Myanmar are concerned, but there is still a lot of political roadmaps that we have to carefully negotiate and treat on. That's all we have on this show. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Dhar, and thanks for joining us too, Mr. Verghese.
Thank you.
That's all we have in this edition. Keep watching.